Hello everyone, this is Seth from the Mast Store Knife Shop, and today we're going to do something pretty special. It's a comparison video on one of our favorite brands in the knife shop, and that is none other than Winkler Knives, which is a local brand. They're known worldwide, but they're made about 20 minutes from the knife shop in Valley Crucis. And so we're going to do a comparison on the iconic belt knife versus the, again, iconic Highland Hunter. They both have really different backgrounds and design reasons, but let's go over them and you can kind of help me decide which one you would like. I'm going to let you know which one I prefer, and let's go over it. Kind of historically, the belt knife is their Winkler's best seller, #1 seller. The original design for the belt knife was actually made for the NSW, the Naval Special Warfare, and they called it the field knife back in the day. And back then, Daniel could only make it for the NSW. They had a contract and said, you cannot make this for the public, for any other branch, whatever. And Winkler really liked it. He thought the public would like it, other branches, so he came out with the belt knife, which is very similar, but it has some subtle differences, and we'll go over that. The main difference was the field knife had a rubber handle. Really grippy, great for, tactical military reasons. And also had a serration which started right about here and it was serrated about halfway down. And that was so they could cut anything they needed: rope, fabric, bone, whatever you're doing. And also the finger drop right there was 90 degrees on the field knife versus the that kind of a radius finger guard on the belt knife. That's really the main differences between the two. Like I said, the belt knife now is perfect. Some people use it for an EDC. It does have a clip point style blade, which is actually better for hunting. It'll break flesh better. I can see why it is their #1 seller, even today. Now we'll talk about the history of the Highland Hunter. This is Daniel's kind of a modern interpretation of his earlier utilitarian hand-forged style. He made these back in the day, actually by hand-forged. So they brought it back, but it still reflects kind of like frontier tools and survival and really hard use. Daniel's really into outdoors and survival, frontiersman, stuff like that. So this is his take on that one. And you can see, I'll put them side by side, they're essentially the same size. There's about a 1/4 inch difference, not enough to mention. Whatever you're doing with it, you don't have to worry about the size of it. Whether you're hunting with it, bushcrafting, SEAL Team 6, whatever you're doing, they're very similar. Now this one does have the drop point style, which is better for bushcrafting, survival. You can baton with it easily. You've got that good thick blade right there. They both have their signature jimping, although the belt knife has the thumb ramp right there. It gives you a little more better traction, better grip right there. You can index it better, more of a military style, where this one has the flatter all the way across. Not a big difference, but again, you do have that jimping right there, really, really grippy. And they both have the black oxide no glare finish on them, so they don't reflect. And of course that was because Winkler is primarily military contracts. You don't want a reflective knife. And also another key point on the original knife designed for the NSW, that's kind of when he designed this style sheath, which they still use today. It has the Boltaron inside lined with leather, so when the knife goes in, it's silent. There's no click. It doesn't come out. It locks in very securely, and that's why he designed that for the NSW. So it doesn't come out. You don't want to hear a loud click while you're on the field. It has its historical roots as well. They both have a very basically identical sheath. Here's the two sheaths, so if you can tell a difference, then good for you. All right, now we can talk about the tapered Tang. They both have the tapered Tang. See right there how they go from a little bit thicker at the top down to much smaller, and that saves weight. It's more balanced, and that's definitely one of Winkler's signature marks right there, that tapered Tang, and that's all done by hand. And these two particular ones have beautiful maple handles. They also come in walnut, some come in micarta, but the maple is definitely the prettiest. I love that. See the grain on it? Really pretty. And that's with any Winkler. So we talked about basically the physical differences, clip point, drop point, the radius finger drop versus this one has the 90 degrees, similar to the field knife, tapered Tang. The belt knife does have somewhat of a swedge on it. You can see right there how it's tapered in, so that will break flesh a little better for hunting. You can penetrate better. It's definitely minimal towards the tip, but they did that intentionally. Whereas the bushcrafter style is basically a 90-degree edge. So that'd be good for a ferro rod, chopping, more material to baton with. And they both have the flat grind on the blade. You can see they're all the way down, flat grind, good for slicing. It's not a real thick bevel on it. Same with the Highland Hunter. I'm part of a Winkler group on some social media sites, and I actually asked some of the friends on there, like, which one would they choose? What do they prefer? If they were stranded on an island or in the wilderness for 2 months, which one would they choose? And so a couple of the answers were, some preferred the belt knife because it's, it'd be better for skinning, hunting an animal. You could still baton with it, like a bushcrafter, similar to the Highland Hunter. One person said that the Highland Hunter reminded them of a kitchen knife. And of course, now if you're going to use this as a kitchen knife, your onion will start crying before you do. I mean, that is one hell of a kitchen knife. But to each their own. It can be whatever you want it to be. And someone also mentioned that they'd be fine with either of them if they're surviving. I'm the same way. I would feel good with either of these. Just don't make me eat bugs, and I could survive anywhere. So it just depends on your preference, what you're going to do with it. Personally, I think if I had to choose, I would choose the Highland Hunter just for the bushcrafting style. You got that flat batoning edge. It just feels more outdoor to me. This one feels more tactical, military, and that is basically where it came from the military background. So I do want to hear what you all think about this in the comments. I would appreciate any kind of feedback, whether you would like this one, the Highland Hunter, your thoughts on them. And I did mention the 80 CRV2 steel. Let me go over the steel chart on that. If y'all are familiar with Winklers, you know they use 80 CRV2 on basically everything. And remember, this is a comparative chart. So the edge retention looks a little low, but that's just compared to other steels that we have in the knife shop. But it's easy to sharpen, takes a really good edge. But what it is known for is its crazy high toughness. It is very hard to break it, chip it, and that's why they choose it for military style applications or bushcrafting, whatever you're doing. And then stainless properties doesn't really exist, and that's why they offer in the box a wax to put on the blade, the handle, the sheath, every bit of it. And that is also why they coat it in the black oxide finish to keep it protected from the elements. So I think that should wrap it up for the Highland Hunter and the belt knife. They both retail for $3.50 in the knife shop. They're essentially the same size, basically 9 inches. One thing I will mention, the belt knife is about 7 to 8 ounces, where the Highland Hunter is only about 5.6 to 6 ounces depending on the handle. So there's a minimal weight difference. You may not care. It's not not super noticeable, but I do. That's kind of why I prefer that one. It's just a little bit lighter. It's a fuzz lighter. And I think that should wrap it up for our comparison. Again, let me know what you all think, and I appreciate y'all watching. And remember, before you go, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content, and also ring that bell so you don't miss any new videos that we post. I appreciate y'all watching, and see you next time.